If you think that after getting to the final castle and beating Bowser, the final boss, the game is over, well, you are wrong. If you think that unlocking and beating every single stage in the special world in order to unlock the last challenge that is literally named Final Test was the end of the game, well my friend, you are once again wrong. Because if you decide to gamer up and collect every wonder seed in every stage, every 10 purple coin and get all the golden flags by finishing every stage while reaching the top of the flagpole, you will unlock this special challenge meant for only the most daring gamers, for the most adventurous and bravest players, a test for those who look death to its very eyes and say not today my friend, the final test batch marathon. And if you like when video games makes you suffer, then you're going to love this, just as I did. And just as a little spoiler, if you complete this challenge, you also get the final and most important batch, but more on that later. I was halfway through Mario Wonder and already knew I was going to be collecting everything, beating 100% of the game, and so I did. I don't want to take too much time talking about that experience, which deserves its own video to be honest, because today I just want to focus on my reward, because after getting everything, the game rewarded me with a bigger challenge. It was 1 AM on a Wednesday, but that wasn't going to stop me from giving this special stage just a little look, which ended up in me going to bed until 4 AM. Like the name says, the final test batch marathon consists in multiple batch challenges, like those that you find normally in the game that is a level created for you to be within a specific batch, but in this case it was one stage for each batch that you have to beat back to back. The first batch you use is the parachute cap, where you can use your cap as a paraglider. Well, the idea here is to float while picking up the flowers to make the green lava go down a little bit each time you pick one of them. The game helps you to know where to move by placing coins that indicate the path you are supposed to follow, but avoiding these damn stars is the real challenge of the first part. It's not extremely difficult though, and it's just a warm-up for what it is to come. The second stage is about the floating high jump that makes you jump like if you were in the moon, jumping higher and falling slower, which showed me that I didn't know exactly how to use this batch. In here you have to jump on this platform to impulse it, but if you stop doing so, it will slowly go back to the initial spot. But at this point, these piranha plants were preventing me from jumping again, so I knew I had to build enough speed to get past them. I tried over and over without success, and in a way, I appreciate the nice obstacle that forced me to understand exactly how this batch works. I tried different strats, including using the elephant form to kill the plants, which actually worked, but of course the game wouldn't force me to have a specific power-up to beat it. Honestly, it took me a while to figure out what I had to do, and the idea was just to ground pound to give the platform a burst of speed. Pretty logical now that I think about it, but yeah, playing that late probably didn't help me. I didn't have to keep impulsing the platform while avoiding these green lava thingies, and it's a matter of understanding when to just jump and when to ground pound. After a bit of practice, it's easy to learn to be honest, and I was able to make it to the third stage. This next one is about swimming with dolphin badge. This badge lets you basically dash underwater, and in my opinion is the easiest stage. It's just about timing the lightning so you can swim past them. Of course, the idea is that once you get in the middle of them, it's about swimming non-stop, not hitting any walls or corners. Of course, once I saw the purple coin, I had to go back for it, which getting them increases difficulty a little bit, but after spending hours collecting everything in the game, I wasn't going to change that at this point. Part of the difficulty is also that if you die in this stage, you have to retry from the very first stage, which can become really annoying and adds to the pressure. Gladly, I was able to beat this one first try and got to the first checkpoint. This is where things get scary. It was time for the crouching high jump. While wearing this badge, you can charge a super high jump by holding the stick down. This is where the challenge gets even more precise. The good thing is that I had the checkpoint right there to be able to retry in case I died. The bad thing is that I didn't have that many lives left, and if you lose all of them, you have to start all the way from the beginning. The idea of this stage is to understand when you need to charge and do a high jump and when just to jump normally. If you do the wrong one, it means death, and of course jumping at a precise time too. But once you learn the pattern, it's not as bad, which later on, after playing this stage for countless attempts, I did just that. Now that I understand what I'm supposed to do, it doesn't seem as hard. But yeah, at this point in my playthrough, I relied on my reflexes and was able to make it to the end, just to get to an even more difficult one. The wall climb jump lets you jump straight up once against a wall, making it easier to reach higher platforms. I used this badge a bunch during my normal playthrough, so I was very familiar with how it worked. In this particular stage, I had to make use of the seeds shot by the plant to jump on them and reach the next platform, and repeat this process over and over until I reached the top of the stage. while also avoiding these electricity spears, of course. The problem here is that the lava is racing every second, so you don't have much time to stop and think each action, and each time you die you have to restart from the previous stage, so the pressure adds up. And after trying a few times, I learned where the platforms were and how to reach one of them, and was finally able to make it to the next one, which is where I met my arch enemy. The next stage was a spring feed, and was easily the one that I hated the most. It honestly made me suffer like crazy. It's been a long time since I felt this tilted. This badge makes you jump all the time. If you press the jump button, you will jump higher, which is what you have to use to avoid the fire obstacles here. It honestly seems way simpler than it is. The major problem is that, like I said, you're always jumping. So you have to wait until your character touches the ground before being able to jump again, right? Well, when you're waiting for the precise moment, and believe me, some of these obstacles you need to be really precise, but you have to time that exact moment where the obstacle is in a certain position, while also having your character in the ground. It's difficult to explain, and it's even more difficult to do, and this is the stage that broke me. The worst part is that every time I died, I had to go all the way back to the charge jump stage, which just adds fuel to the rage, having to do the same stages over and over and over each time you made a small mistake. And what's worse is that I was running low on lives, and that meant starting from the very beginning, which eventually happened. This last part was impossible for me, and little by little I lost my remaining lives to this part. Honestly, the best thing I could have done was to go to sleep and continue the next morning with a clearer mind. But I'm stubborn. I'm a stubborn mother trucker. I wasn't going to go to sleep like a loser. If I was going to bed that night, was going to be as a king. So I took my purple coins and I spent 300 of them to buy me 99 lives. I went back to the final test and got down to business again. I went through the first 3 stages with ease. I got to the part that was causing me the most trouble real quick. I don't need to show you how much more I suffered, and this particular stage actually never learned the correct pattern. It's accurate to say that I just got lucky at some point and was able to do the 3 final jumps correctly, making it to the next challenge, and I never looked back. And thanks to God, the next stage held the checkpoint that meant no more freaking spring feed badge. Although I didn't know there was something worse. The next stage was a jet run, which makes you run super fast, and you even run a little further after leaving a platform, which helps you reach further places. You basically have to make use of this mid-air jump every single time in this stage to reach the next part. The problem is that you have to wait for the very last moment where you can jump, because if you wait a little bit too long, the jump button doesn't work anymore and you fall to your death. This is another badge that I never used, and I didn't understand exactly the limits of it. It took me a while to get the feeling of where to jump, but once I did, I never died in this stage again. Wasn't long until I got to my favorite one, the double jump stage. This is the badge that I used on almost my entire time beating the game, so I was pretty familiar with how it worked. I was able to get past this one on my second try. This stage was about timing that second jump multiple times, which honestly felt pretty easy. I made it to the next stage pretty quick, which was the grappling bind stage. This is basically a grappling hook that you can stick to any type of walls. It's one of the coolest badges in my opinion, and the one that I guess a lot of people will be having tons of fun with. And in this stage you have to do just that, grapple from wall to wall until you reach the end. The major problem is the vine doesn't launch completely straight. It goes out in a certain angle, meaning that you have to drop a little bit more before releasing the vine. Once I adjusted my timing to this issue, I was able to consistently get past this stage. The best part of this is that you don't have anything else pressuring you. There's no lava or time running out, so you can take as much time as you want to time each jump. My problem is that I was already super tilted and anxious from all the other stages, so I made many dumb mistakes. But it wasn't too long until I was able to finish this part. I don't know if you have noticed, but every time that I beat 3 stages in a row, there was a checkpoint waiting for me, and I was eager to get to the next one and leave these stages behind, which to my surprise, in my next stage, there was not a checkpoint flag, and there wasn't a daisy either. The next stage was about the invisible badge, which does just that, makes you invisible, which means enemies can't target you, but you also can't know where you are either. The clouds and the dust are supposed to help you in this case, but when you add precise jumps into the mix, it turns into hell. On top of that, if you fall in here, you will have to do the other 3 stages to be able to reach the same spot, and the pressure of being in the middle of the night after so many rages wasn't a good combination either. This part is more about the feeling that you get from playing the entire game than trying to locate your character by watching the clouds or the dust, like I said. The actual pain in the ass is this last section where you have to jump on these balloons. It's even difficult to land on them while watching your character. Now imagine if you can see her. And what you have to understand is that if you hit the balloon on the back or the front, you get launched to that that direction, meaning you have to hit it exactly in the middle. And once I did, I had to jump on it twice while moving forward, and then jump on multiple balloons that were flying in the opposite direction. Bro, this is just madness. I don't know how long it took me, but I hated the previous stages, having to go through all of them over and over just to reach this point where you have nothing that can help you. Once you do the first jump, you can't stop to think or relocate your character, so it was about trying dozens of times until I finally got a good attempt going. I don't know what happened at this point, but I just became one with Daisy. You can even tell by the camera movement how I was going to land past the balloon and corrected my path by flicking my stick backwards, and I did that twice. What's funny is that once I was in the green balloons, I wasn't entirely sure where my character was and how I was going to hit each balloon. Even this last one, it was kind of necessary, I would say, but I didn't want to risk it, even though doing this last jump was probably even a higher risk. I honestly thought the challenge was going to keep going, but to my surprise, I had the flagpole in front of me. It was just about timing one last jump to reach the top. I didn't want to miss this flag and have to go through everything again, but out of all the practice I've just had, it was easy to hit the correct spot and get to the top of the flagpole. And just like that, I finished the last stage and the final challenge. And what was my reward? Other than the honor and proud of beating one of the hardest platforming challenges I've ever played, I got the last badge, name sound off. What does that mean? Well, it means this.
Onward and upward. Refreshing.
That's right, each sound effect is replaced by mouth sounds. It's honestly super funny to play with, and it's something that I would never expect to get on a game. Maybe it's the perfect excuse to replay this beautiful game and find all the funny new sounds. Well, for now, I was able to sleep as a king like I said. I hope you give this a try too and let me know how it went for you. For now, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time.